All right. Well, officially, good morning, everybody, and welcome out there. Mr. Jerome, keep an eye on the waiting room. If someone joins, let them in. So today's song is Let It Be, girls. The song is Let It Be, and this was actually mostly a collaborate. Some of the ideas actually came from Jerome Johnson. Do you know who Jerome Johnson is? Okay, you got to stop now. Jerome Johnson is a famous, very famous guy right here in the Tucson store. Uh, right? Actually, I wanted to do this song, and he gave me a couple ideas, and I went, hey, that's actually pretty nice. So, what I'm going to do is pull the music up here, and I'll play the song here in just a minute. I'm going to play two versions of this song. Let me get my version of the song here. Let it be. I was going to look up the history of the song, but I glanced at it, and that's when all the text messages started coming in. Song of the month. Let it be. All right. Can't move my computer, otherwise I'll lose everybody. Okay. So I'm going to play the song one time through, and then at the end I'm going to play it again slightly differently. So here we go. Thank you. Apparently someone was in the on the organ this morning because I was using some of the effects and they weren't working. Wonder who could that have been? Staff members. Anyway, so what I decided to do was take a classic song that many people have redone many times, but they always tend to do the arrangement the same way that the original artist did. I always get a kick out of when I hear a song redone. It doesn't matter what song, from what era. I always like to hear it. Sometimes when I hear a song and it sounds just like the original, I'm like, well, what's exciting about that? I could just listen to the original. So a lot of times I like to hear what someone new comes up with or some different ideas. I mentioned that, I forget, a week or two ago, how there was an extreme heavy metal rock song that was playing during one of the movies, Willow. And nobody would know. I was listening, I was like, what is that melody? What is that melody? It sounds so familiar. I couldn't place it. And I took my phone out, the Shazam, and it told me the name of the song. I'm like, well, that's not how I know that song. And most people that hear it is actually, it's real pretty, the arrangement. So what I want to do, have some fun today, is speed it up a little bit, as you know. And we kind of gospeled it up a little bit. I did a little bit of soft and easy type styling. Then I turned it into a rock a little bit. And then we even gave it a gospel flavor. And for kicks, we even threw in a little fake it solo in there. So here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to pull up the music and let's see. Make that thing go away. Let's see here. I do. All right. So here's the music. All right. So what I'm going to tell you to do is, what's cool about this is I'm going to give, as I go through the song, I'm going to say I made the change here, made the change here. But here's the cool thing about this. If you save your own setups, you can make the changes anywhere in the music you want. Just pick a spot. Now I'm going to give you the spots that are ideal. Okay, if that makes sense? I'm going to say here, 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 and here are good places to make a change. So if I say 1, 2, 3, 4, you can do it in any order. Just make a change in that spot if you want to. So I'm going to put on my video here. You have all the music? Okay. All right. So in the very beginning, I'm going to say, you can put a little, oh, that is little. That's tiny. Let me make that bigger. You doggy. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to turn that into a asterisk there. And I'll change the color to red so it stands out. Okay, so in the very beginning, I don't know if you could see it from the angle here. No, I can't. So see right there in the very beginning. So I'll tell you where it's at. You guys on Zoom land, you can see it on the screen. In the very beginning, just put like a little asterisk. Okay? I put 2, but you don't have to put. All right? So there's one place. In the very beginning. Where it says, in the very beginning. Anywhere in the beginning there. Just put a little asterisk, put a little notation there. That's a spot to make a change in the sound. Okay? All right? Now if you go 1, 2, 3 lines, you see at the bottom it says B, and then there's a C chord, the word B, and then it says, and in my hour of darkness. Okay? I would put another one there. Yeah. No, I wouldn't put a number. Just put a notation that's where you're going to make a change. Okay? Somewhere right around the rest. There is no perfection here. Okay? So, in the beginning of the song, when I, all right? And then go to the third line down where it says and in. You could probably put it over the rest. Okay? All right, now do another one right somewhere around the C chord, the very last measure of the first page. See where it gets ready to say let it be? Just put a little notation there.
Before let it be.
Yeah, I would say around the C chord. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right, and then one more time. Yeah, put it above the C chord. Put it above the C chord, probably somewhere. And if you do it before that, that's fine too. Okay. And then the last one is again on the C chord. On the second page, go 1, 2, 3 lines down. Okay? So you have basically 4 places that you can make changes in sounds and what have you. Okay? All right. Any questions on that? All right. I'll very quickly say it one more time. Put an asterisk or a mark, a notation to yourself in the very beginning of the song. Third line down, second measure. You could say somewhere between the C chord and the word and in my hour, somewhere in there. You want to, and then at the very end of the first page on the C chord, and then again on the second page, on 1, 2, third line down, second measure, the C chord. All right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some of the basic sounds that I'm used. The reason why I have this screen is I may put the screen up there as I'm telling everybody as well. Okay? So when I started the song off, I did an introduction, and I'm going to say this is optional because not everybody can do this. But if I might take the time and write out the notes, but basically what I did is I played this C chord, G chord, A minor, all the way up to the C for an introduction. All right? And the sound that I have on is these really pretty guitar sounds. Okay? And most people know the song, they hear piano and all that, but you know what? I'm a guitar player, so. Now, I'll get back to the guitar sound in a second. So what I have set up on my first 3 presets, I have the rhythm, I have the soft gospel. Okay? And instead of the typical 68, 70, nice and slow, and this will be, I put it at 88. Not too fast. Okay? So when I go to play it with the rhythm, it's got just a little bit more of a pickup. All right? Most people play it, you know, when the setups come up, they go, which is very pretty. But I just felt like doing something different today. You guys probably heard the same type of thing over and over. So I have a soft gospel at, boy, somebody was really messing with my settings in here. It was switched to B flat too. I thought it sounded weird. The Beatles recorded in the key of C. I did it in C, but somebody came in and put B flat on the organ before I.
So B flat is not a transpose?
No, just regular key of C. Okay, so I have soft gospel at 88. Now here's the guitar sound I have on the top keyboard. Jerome, can you let that person in, please? I had to wake him up. Okay, and the guitar sound. Isn't that pretty? All right. Would you like to know what I used? I actually stole it from another setup. I was playing a song on a style called it's a guitarist style called Guitars 4/4, and I was just playing. And I was like, "That's a nice sound," and all I did is I stole it from there. That's where I got it from, Rhythm Preset. But let me tell you the sound that it's actually being used. The sound that's actually being used. Okay? All right. Now, if you guys look on the screen there, you'll see an orchestral 1 and orchestral 2. Those are the two sounds I used, and it gives me this. Now, you guys can't see that there. Let me pull it up on the screen here. Woo! Go back and watch the video because I'm not going to keep it here forever. All right, so what I have is guitar acoustic, I don't know what that stands for. Reso something. It's short for something. Okay? And then there's one other one.
Resonance.
I don't think it is, but anyway. And then there's one right here on your upper tab called Guitar Electric Bright. And those three sounds combined give you this. That guitar sound. I actually use that sound for the very first 3 setups. Okay? Actually, the first time I played through the entire song, that's the sound that I'm using. Okay? So you got
Robert,
Yes.
Robert, yeah, are you going to be giving us presets like you have before?
Oh yeah, I'll do that too.
Oh, okay.
But I want you to
Thank-
at least feel
Yeah.
like you're having to work a little bit today.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'll type them out too and put them on Patreon. But it's good to take notes and get a jump start on it. It'll probably be out in about Friday, give or take. All right, so that's the sound that's used for my first 3 setups. Okay, the first 3 setups that I have are also using the soft gospel. The first 3 setups play the entire song one time through. Okay, there's only some slight changes. So in my first setup, I have this. Okay, real simple. Nothing in the left-hand chord or anything. All right, soft gospel, 88. All right, nothing major. The only little thing that I did is I turned off the Orchestra Plus. So it goes like this. So it has at least a bit of the piano playing. That's Paul McCartney playing in the background. He's accompanying me now. It's not really, but I can pretend. See, if I put on Orchestra Plus, it brings in stuff. All right, so let me repeat. Soft gospel, tempo of 88, Orchestra Plus off, no lower sound, and on the top keyboard is that guitar sound. I got to get my camera angles right. Every time I do this, I cut my head off. Look like the headless teacher. All right. Just turn off the lower tabs button. Here we go. Okay. And then I play that until I get to the next change. Where's the next change at? Where I told you. Remember where I told you to put those asterisks at? Those are good places to make changes. Yeah. And here's the only change I made. Are you ready for this? Woo, this is a big whopping change. All I did is I turned on the strings in my lower keyboard, and I have a piano in the lower Genius. And that was it. So it goes from this, listen, to this. Just a nice little chord sound holding in there. So I go from, all right, and then it goes to the second part. It goes like this. Just a nice, subtle little change. That's it. And then on the second page, technically right before the second page starts, I just kick it in just a little bit more by bringing in the orchestra plus. And it goes like this. There's number 2. Here's number 3. All right. However, you might have heard something slightly different, did you not? Listen to the band. Almost everything together. Sound is almost the same on the top keyboard, but what did you hear differently? Here's number 2. Here's number 2. Here's the band. Listen to the band. There's more musicians, so that's where the orchestra plus came in. And I just turned on a drum variation. So the drummer kind of changes a little bit, sounds a little different. Yeah, and then so you go from, here's the last part of the second setting. Now I'm going to take my time, go to my next setting, fill it. Okay? And then I just played the rest of the song with that setup to the end of the song. Now that doesn't mean the song's over, but that just means that's how I played the first time through.
And that was done at 4
Nope, just play it all the way to the end.
No, but it started.
It started on the, I started the change on the last measure of the first page, and then I played it all the way through. Nothing. I'll save that for later. I didn't say anything about that. We'll get to that. Well, you just never know. It'll come in. The places that I had you mark are going to come in handy when I tell you. So the first setup I changed in the beginning. I had that setup. The second setup, I just added whatever I told you, lower. And then on the third setup at the end of the last page, I added the drum variation and the orchestra plus. And then I played it all the way through the end of the song. Now, some people are going to say, well, then you tell me to mark it somewhere on the second page. Yes, but that's not this time around. So you could say, if you wanted to, I guess if you really wanted me to do this for you, because sometimes I know how to do this in live motion. Let's see here. I guess you can say 1, 2, oops, thing doesn't want to move right. 2, 3, and that's it. All right. You see that there, virtual land people? 1, 2, 3. And then I play it to the end of the song. Okay? So I essentially started the song in the fashion of the way the song was written, kind of a ballady kind of thing. I just increased the tempo a little bit for the reason that when I go into a little bit more of a rocker version, it's on the same tempo that would work. All right, so here's the, all right, there's the second setup, and here's the third setup. Okay, you see how it picks up a little bit? Now, no, it does not. No, it's at 88. Okay, now, let's talk about setup. Four, 5, and 6. Okay? You could essentially put them in the same place if you like. Same place as 1, 2, and 3. But 4, 5, and 6 are going to sound like this. we kick it up a little bit. And anyone want to guess what rhythm I used? Oh, you guys can know because it's on the screen here. They can't see it there. I use, this is where Jerome, I was playing with, he says, oh, you know what works great with that? He says, old time rock. He actually plays it a little faster sometimes, which works. There's a style called old time rock. All right? And here's the trick to it though, because if you don't push the right button, it may sound a little funny. Because if you put an old time rock, here, yeah, we're going to go from soft gospel to old time rock. Yeah. We're going to turn you into rock and rollers here. So here's how old time rock usually sounds. It sounds kind of weird for that. I mean, you can make it work, but it's kind of strange. The trick is you have to have the altar style on. So it goes. So it's just a nice, simple beat. So you got. Now, I use the old time rock with altar style for all of the next three presets, and the only sound that I have on is a grand piano, just your traditional piano 9-foot grand. Okay. Let me pull up the screen there. Okay. Right there. Just that one. There's always stuff in the Genius buttons, but this is the only one that you want on. Yeah, 9-foot grand. Piano, 9-foot grand. Okay? Now, I also bring it down an octave. So instead of this, it's this. All right? And I do almost the same thing I did in the first three setups. All right? I have old time rock with altar style, no orchestra plus. And you got this. And then on the next setup, which would be number 5, I just bring in the orchestra plus. And just the band comes in. And then on number 6, same place as 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6.
When you go back.
When I go back to the beginning, the question is where do I put these numbers? Well, let me pull it up on the screen. To make it simple, the simple you can do like this. Same place as 1, 2, and 3, so 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Now here's an example where I put this asterisk. If someone says, well, I'm going to do 4, 5, and then I'm going to wait to the second page to do number 6, guess what? It's okay. If you want to do 1 and then wait to the second page to do number 2, you can do that. It doesn't matter. The point is, this is the order I'm doing it. The point is that just make a change in those spots if you want to make a change. All right? Now, the one last thing that I did on number 6, so let me reiterate what I did. Hold on. Wait. You wait. Okay, so at number 4, I start a new rhythm, old time rock with altar style and orchestra plus off. Okay? And then I have the piano on with orchestra with the down an octave, okay? And then on number 5, I bring in the orchestra pluck, kind of like what I did the first 2 times with the soft gospel. But on number 6, here's what I did. It's just a small adjustment, okay? Nothing major. Here's number 4. 6 is in the same place as number 3. Okay. So, number 4. Here's number 5. Now here's number 6. Tell me what you hear. Oh, you hear something. Oh, a little something. Nothing major. It was an organ sound. But not just an organ sound, because there's thousands of organ sounds. You can have a pipe organ, you can have a church organ, you can have a theater organ, you can, I don't know if I'd use a theater organ with this. But given the nature of the way the song that's heading, and it's kind of just a little upbeat, I took and put a nice little jazz organ type sound. I'll tell you what I did in a minute. Let me turn off the piano. Here's the organ by itself. So it's got a kind of a jazz organ sound. And I combined it with the piano. And some of you actually have a button called jazz organ, depending on your organ. If you do, use it. All right? If you don't, and you have these fancy flute tabs here, use 16, the very first 4 flutes. 16, 8, 5 1/3, and 4. Okay? And then you get this. All right? So we're picking up the song a little bit. Now, if you're one of those people, I'm not really into that old-time rock, well, that's okay. Use the soft gospel and just change the sounds to the piano. Change the sounds, though, okay? But if you want to have a little fun, experiment with a new rhythm, that's another rhythm, because it actually follows a little bit of the beat in the way the original chording, though, only I have it just a little bit tad faster than what it normally would be brought up at. Okay? Now, here comes the part where you can do this or you don't have to. It's totally up to you. I threw in a little solo there. I decided to use the fake it feature. Okay? Now, where you ask? I'll tell you where in just a second. You ready? All right. So you're probably wondering, where would I put this solo? Well, here's how I did. And let me tell you where I did it, and then I'll tell you the setup that I used. In the very beginning, actually, no, scratch that. Go to, on your music, on the first page, where's the second setup asterisk that I told you to do? What's the words?
And in my hour.
Okay, it says and in my hour, right? So what I did is I put the solo there. Now you can do this anywhere you want. You can do, there's so many ways to do this. It's really up to you. You can do the entire song, because it's not a very lengthy song. Just play the chord progression and use the fake it the entire way through. I didn't want to do the entire thing, so what I did is I took and I started right here in the middle and in the hour. I put on fake it and I played it all the way through to about where the next stop was. Okay? Now you may say to yourself, you know what, Robert? I might want to play from here all the way to the end of the song. Well, guess what? That's okay. You can do whatever you want. Or you may say, Robert, I don't feel like using the fake it. Guess what? That's okay too. Do whatever you want. But as a suggestion, I'm playing the fake it from the third line where it says and in my hour, from there to the second page of the third line where it might start over, and I stop right there. And then I'll tell you what I do next, okay? Now, being that if you hear the song Let It Be by the Beatles, it's actually George, I don't know who actually, I'm guessing it's George Harrison. One of the band members, either George or John Lennon, plays a little guitar solo. Okay? Now, I use soft gospel. I go back to the soft gospel rhythm. And I'm going to leave this up here for a bit so you guys can see this. But let me tell you the rhythm as that's up on the screen. I go back to soft gospel. I have altar style and drum variation on. So let me let you hear the difference. Here's soft gospel without a drum variation, without an altar style. This is how it was sounded in the beginning. Okay? Here's soft gospel with the drum variation. Okay? Kind of hear it. Now here's the soft gospel with drum variation and altar style. Now, when you listen to that, it almost sounds like, how's that going to really work? Well, we're not playing the melody now. We're doing the solo. If you're using the fake it, now, depending on your model. So if you have some of the models, you have to wiggle the notes. Some, like the Liberty, I'm holding down the note. Some of you have you just touch it and it kind of does its own thing. Whatever method works for you. But what I do is I'll start from here and I'll play up to here. Okay? And then I go back into the song. And I'll tell you about that in a second. But you kind of get the point of where I did the solo. But in this case, I held the note. Some of you might have to wiggle. If you hold it long enough, apparently, the guitar player gets really fancy. I don't know if George Harrison really got that fancy, but we'll pretend he did. Okay? Yeah, I always do that. That's not necessary, though. Okay. Now, let's talk about the last three setups, because that solo, if you choose to do it, is number 7. Okay? The last three setups is 8, 9, and 10, and they're very similar. So what I try to do is I try to keep the first 3, the second 3, and the last 3, that group very similar to each other, so it didn't sound like you're doing 10 totally different setups, if that makes sense. All right? This is the part where some of you will embrace it, some of you go, heck with that. This is where Jerome, I was playing it yesterday, he goes, yeah, you know what else will work with that? Electricity. It's electricity. So I tried it on, and you kind of gospeled it up a little bit. Now, if you listen to the electricity style, it's not really a gospel sound. But when you hear this, it's going to sound almost got a gospel feel to it. If you think about the song, if you listen to the chord structure and the way it's sung and played, it's almost got a gospel feel to it, if you really think about it. So here's what we did. And I wanted to make this real simple. You ready? So I have a style called electricity. I'm at the same tempo. Electricity, yes. Well, I'm going to tell you where, but it's not like the other song, the other part of the song. We basically repeat the last page as many times as you need to. And you change the 3 setups. So you can do it however you want. I'm going to give you that alt. I'll play it and you follow along and see how I did it, because I think every time I play it, it's a little bit different. So if I tell you now what I'm going to do, it might be different than when I actually play it. All right? But let me tell you the setup first that I used. Electricity is the style. Genie Orchestra Plus is on, that's fine. And drum variation.
I thought it was called Electric City, Robert.
Electricity. Electricity. Well, it depends on how you look at it. Electricity, electricity. It's not even, if you want to pronounce it the way you did, Jerome, it's not called Electric City. It's called Electricity.
I thought it was a Mississippi version.
No. Or Electricity. It's electricity. I don't know, however you want to call it. Okay? All right. So electricity, Electric City, however you like to call it. Drum variation. I tried the altar style, the drum variation, on and off, and it was like that was the one that worked the best. Okay? Now, on the lower keyboard, it is significant. If you notice in the beginning of the song, I didn't talk too much about the left hand because it didn't. To me, it wasn't the significant sound for the song. It was just, okay? But for the last three setups, it is significant, and if you use this feature, it'll kind of come in handy. All right? I have a 16 and a 1-foot flute on for the left-hand lower chord. So, let me turn the screen back down here. Let me turn the screen here, because actually what's in the orchestral section is irrelevant for this last three setups. All right? So on the lower keyboard here, y'all have, most of you have the tabs. If you do, now, if you happen to have a model that does not have organ flute tabs for the lower, it's not the end of the world. It's just kind of like a bonus for this setup, okay? What's most importantly is what's happened to Melly. But if you have these flute tabs, if you have an 8 and a 1-foot flute, put that on. I haven't told you yet. Right, I'm just telling you the setup first. Everything's going to happen on the last page. You can do it anywhere. You can do it from the top of the page. Technically, it's the last measure of the first page. It kind of ties into that second page, okay? But you'll see the rest of the song for the next three setups, I just keep repeating the last page as many times as you see fit. Okay? So you can, I guess you could say from the top. All right? But the left hand has these 16 and 1-foot organ flute. Now, I'm going to turn on the rhythm, and I'm going to turn up those organ flutes up really loud so you could hear, because they're not meant to be too loud. Now I'm going to turn off the band. You hear that chord holding? It's like a classic gospel organ sound. Okay? Now, that's there along with the band. Okay? And then we're going to show you a neat little trick here in just a minute. But first, I want to get you the sounds. All right? So, I have that on, and it together with the band, it sounds like this. Okay, so it's mixed in with the band. On the upper keyboard, I have a big organ sound on with a harmony. How do I get the big organ sound, you ask? Nobody's asking. I can't tell you. Wait, I'm reading her lips. She's saying, how do you get that big organ sound? Okay, really easy. On your flute tabs for your upper, turn on every single flute tab you have. You got them on the roll, and turn on every flute tab. Okay? If you happen to have the jazz button that turns them, I don't know if you could see it. You probably can't see it on the video there. But here it's showing up in green. If you turn on the jazz, it turns them green. All it does is it takes the organ sound and gives it a little bit of a Hammond-like sound. So here's the red, Lowry. Now here, watch what happens when I push the jazz. Hear the difference in the tone? Same flute setting, same organ setting, but it's more of the Hammond-like sound. Okay? And then I have an AOC. All right? Now, it is complicated. That's why you want my presets too. And if you're a Patreon member, I'm going to type it all out for you and put it on there. If you're not, shame on you. It's called the guilt trip approach. All right, so now that's the setting I have for number 7. Now number 8, number 8. Let me back up. I'm sorry. 7 was the solo, so that's number 8. 9 and 10 is the same. The only difference is that on number 9 I added a 16-foot strings, and then number 10 I added an 8-foot strings, just to kind of give it a big sound. Okay? Now, let me play just a one-note chord on all 3 so you could hear, and this is what it's going to sound like. Just slightly different. Okay, you hear the strings coming? That's all it is. But here's the cool feature that I didn't get to use in the beginning when I played it. I was using it, but it wasn't working. Do you know why? Because someone was playing the organ before I came in, and they had the pedals off button activated. I was like, why is this not working? I just did this last night. Here's a feature that's going to be hard to go into detail right now because I could teach a whole class on this. But I'll tell you what I did, and then you can go try to do it yourself, and then if you need further assistance, contact a personal assistant, okay? But I want you to listen to the... Now, for the purpose of this, I'm going to turn off the band members, and all you're going to hear is the bass drum and the organ sound. Okay? Now listen closely. Hear that humming chord sound? Now watch. Okay, do you hear the organ where it kind of has a little tremolo sound and then it kind of just goes a little flat? That's very common with a lot of organ players that they played over the years when they're playing those nice, rich Hammond type organ sounds. Now they have hands and they're really good and they're real fast at doing it. I was doing it yesterday, and Jerome said, your students aren't going to, not everyone's going to be able to do that. Here's what I was doing. So I was playing. So I was doing this, right? He says, no, you're going to teach people how to do that? They're not going to do it. So what he said, why don't you put it on the pedals? Oh, wait a second. You could actually program the pedals. Now, he prefers to do it on his foot switches. I don't. I like my right switch for the fill-in, and I like having the glide when I need it. But I thought some people have trouble with that foot switch to begin with, right? So what you can do is you can program the foot pedals, because I'm not even using them for the song. And so when you're doing this, and while you're holding the organ sound or playing, anytime you press it, it'll automatically switch this from fast to slow. And if you touch it again, it'll go from slow to fast. And listen. And there's no right or wrong to how, when, and you want to do it. You can just stomp on it. But you got to set it up that way. How do I set it up that way, you ask? Because you have that look. Yes, I want to give you a lot of information today. I have 1 month to prepare for this class. So, all right. So, there's a that's the beauty of going back and watching these videos, because then you can go back and pause it. What did he say there? He didn't say that again, Robert. And you can make me say it over and over and over and over again, and I won't get tired. All right. So there's a feature. You could program it here, but the problem is, we talked about all the ways we could program it. The problem was, you have to take your hand off the keys to do it. So I wanted to suggest a way that while you're playing, your hands stay on the keys and all you have to do is stomp on the pedal. Any pedal. When you program it, it programs all of the pedals, so you don't have to go like this. You just stomp. Okay? Now, so what you do is you go to the feature. Let me put up to the screen for you folks. And what I did is I saved preset 8, 9, and 10 like this so that any of those presets I was using, my foot pedal had this feature on. Here's what I did. I went up to feature and I scrolled to this page. Now this should look familiar if you were in my class, I forget, last class 2 or 3 ago or whatever. We talked about, remember, changing the touch bars? Remember that? And I told everybody, whatever you do on the touch bar, you could do in the foot switches or the pedal. It just depends on what your preference is. I went through and I explained how to do this feature. So in this case, I want to change this one. So what I'm going to do is touch that. And look, it comes up and it says pedal natural black. And what I did is I scrolled, I'm going to leave that there for a second, to where it says Vibrotrem / rotary on both of them. Now I probably won't use the black pedal, but I put it there just in case. So they're both the same. And what does it say? Pedal controllers on. Now watch, when I go to preset 9 and 10, that's how that preset is set. Because I'm not using the foot pedals to play pedals. I'm using it to do this. So what happens is, while I'm playing, you can hold a note, you don't have to hold a note, you can just keep playing, just stomp on the pedal, and it'll automatically switch from slow to fast automatically. These are features in the organ. Now, I will tell you this. I'm covering setups in the song today. I'm covering certain features. I'm covering a lot of things. The beauty of having this recorded is that you can go back in bits and pieces and watch and listen to this stuff if you want to experiment with on your own. And then if you say, you know what, Robert, I'm lazy, just give me your presets, well, then you can get them. Okay? So these setups here now, because of that, now let me put the camera down here for a moment so you could see the pedals there. So there again. So when you're playing, but when you have everything on together and you're playing, so I randomly did it. I may not use it that much, but I wanted you to kind of see the point I was making and how you could do that. For this particular setup, no, 8, 9, and 10. So 8, 9, and 10, I gave you the sounds, I gave you the setup, and basically where do I play it? Well, I could alternate the first half and the second half and change, or you could just do the entire page and go to the next set. There is no right or wrong to it. It's how it feels okay to you. Anywhere on the second page. Question where I put 8, 9, 10. Anywhere on the second page. So you can do 8 at the top. Technically it picks up from right here. Okay? 8, 9, 10. Or you can do 8, 9, 10. Or you can do 8, 9, 10. Which one is right? They're all correct. They're all correct. It just depends on how you want. Okay, so the question she's asking how many times I actually play the song. That's a good question. Technically, here's how I play it. All right, you have your music. I'm just going to, here's setup 1, setup 2, setup 3. Okay, that's one time through. Setup 4, setup 5, setup 6. So it's second time 2. Then I do the solo, optional. And my solo is setup 7, which is around here, and then I go through about here, okay? And then I finish the song with 8, 9, and 10. And that's it. Right, because that's all they do in the song. There's not much more to the song. Now, I'm going to share one other little thing with everyone that I purposely avoided because it could potentially take some time. But when I play this, in the very beginning with the guitar sound, I told you I did my own sound intro. Okay? I play this chord progression for my introduction. But I actually take the notes, and the trick to this is I take the guitar sound on the top keyboard and I cascade the notes manually. And I know some of you have the cascade feature, but this time I actually do it manually. And I start off, my left hand is always playing the note of the chord. Okay? That's the first secret. So it's... Okay? Yes. And then on the right hand, I'm playing these chords, but I break up the notes. So if you know the chords, the notes in the chord, okay? If you don't, then don't do it. But if you know the chords, so here I'm doing C, and then I go G, G chord, A minor, F, C, G, F. And I'll write that out for you. Okay? Now, if you don't do that, you don't have to. You could actually just start off like this. Okay? So you don't have to do that. That's kind of an optional thing for some of you who like to get a little daring. Okay? But I like to start off the song with the note chord. Okay? And then maybe a fill in. And then here we go. Okay? So I'm going to play it one more time through. Now that I have my features set up. All right? Now if I play it like this, can you see? Hey, I want to give you a class that's worth a couple $100. If you were to, yeah, it is excellent, isn't it? It was. All right. Now you guys saw me, or they didn't get to see it, so I'm going to sit like this. Okay. Okay. Are you ready? Now, if you have my setups, then you don't have to worry about it. Well, you like to know what's going on. Well, then you can't get my setups unless you try it first. Okay, you ready? I'm going to play it the whole way through using all the things that I just showed you. All right? Now, actually, I'm going to move the camera in a little closer. I can't move my computer because the last time I did that, I disconnected. I got to get me a new Ethernet cable. Let me see. So if I keep it like that, you can kind of see it. See if I can do this without moving. Very carefully moving my computer. Okay. All right. How's that? Is that an okay view there? All right. Sorry you can't see it on the TV anymore. All right.
Perfect.
Okay, you ready? Now I hope I don't goof it up. Now I'm nervous. I'm all up close. Yeah, I get nervous. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hold the applause, please. Oh, no, don't stop. Oh, I'm gone out of the picture. Yes, no, it's good. on the electricity or electric city or electricity, I use the ending 2, which would be much better to use on that style than number 1. Okay? Well, I hope it was worth the delay with our technical issues. Did you have a good class today?
Yes, we did. It was very
Okay.
interesting.
All right. Well, hopefully I gave you so much that your brain's kind of going, oh my gosh, woo. Well, your brain is exploding. I'm going to have it all typed out in a few days. So basically, you could have the handout. I'll have the presets already finalized in the next few days. It'll also be posted on our Patreon page as well. And last but not least, it's always a good idea to be open-minded to an organ sale. So the gift shop is open. Remember that. At all of our stores right now, we have the biggest organ sale ever. Why? Because I say so. Well, thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed today's class. And stay safe and keep playing music. And mwah, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Robert.
Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you.